Okay, Andrea. Andrea, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my friend Andrea. I met her through Food and Water Watch a while back and did a lot of activities with her. Then she became a staff person for Food and Water Watch. And then she became a director for Azul. So I'm going to let her tell you about what Azul does. And she specifically works on water issues.
Well, thank you everyone for allowing me to be here today. As Daryl said, I work for Azul. We're a environmental justice organization that works specifically or primarily with the Latinx community. Mainly in California, we're starting to work on national issues. We work on water, like Daryl said. We also work on some energy issues as far as offshore drilling goes and other issues like that with not only against fossil fuels, but also promoting renewable energy and anything that has to do with industrialization of the coast and access to the coast. So we are promoting a bill that is called 30 by 30. So making sure that 30% of our coasts and oceans and land is protected by 2030. And protected means from the industry and have equitable access to the to those places by people who have historically been removed from those places. So we are supporting that legislation at the state and at the national level. We also work a lot on plastic pollution that also has to do with fossil fuels. And we are about to release a study that we did with the United Nations. It's a 50-page study, and I think it's going to come out in January. So we're very excited about that. But today I'm here to talk about our campaign on desal, and it's heating up and it's just getting crazy. So if you will allow me, I would like to share my screen so I just could take you through what is going on in on Orange County. Let me see if it'll let me. Yeah, cool. Okay. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Now I'm going to look like I'm looking away from the screen, but I'm looking at my big screens rather than my laptop.
Okay, so I want to show the case for Poseidon being an environmental and social injustice in Huntington Beach. So first of all, desalinated water is the most expensive and energy intensive water source that we can have. And we even have a study by the Metropolitan Water District of Orange County that confirmed so. That Poseidon project will be the costliest per acre foot water produced, and basically is the most unsustainable way to get water. And this plant has been in the works for about 20 years. We keep fighting it, but it just keeps coming back. We also have a report by UCLA that shows that this project basically will hit low-income residents the hardest, because it will basically start eroding the human right to water, which basically says that water needs to be affordable, among other things, like it needs to be enough water for people. It also needs to be good quality, but overall it needs to be affordable. And this plant will make the water basically take a hit in terms of water rates. And again, it just confirms what we all have been claiming, that this project will just take a hit. This plant will be $1.4 billion, and it will harm ratepayers all over Orange County. There's going to be a small subsidy for people who live right along the coast, but everyone else living inland, like in Santa Ana and in Fullerton and in other places, they will have to start paying more. And we know right now that people are hurting because not only COVID, but just the economic crisis overall. And it's just horrible to think that someone might end up losing the roof of their head just for a water bill. The UCLA report focused on 3 equity issues: the Poseidon's impact on environmental justice issues as related to Orange County, the anticipated cost of Poseidon compared to other alternatives, and the cost of plant and how it's going to be passed on to households. we also have a united opposition from other EJ organizations. The ones who are most active right now is, of course, us, Azul, with Oakview Comunidad, who they're basically in Huntington Beach. They do a lot of food drives. They focus a lot on social justice issues, and then also ensuring that their community not only can survive, but thrive. And of course, if Poseidon gets spilled, that's going to be just so much harder. And then Orange County Environmental Justice. But all these groups understand that there's a lot of stake if this plant gets spilled. And right now they have been going back and forth from a 50-year take-or-pay contract to a 30-year, and now they're back to a half a century, basically, of this plant operating. Poseidon also claims that this plant will be carbon neutral. And of course, the way they do that is by offsetting and buying offsets. And most of those offsets, I looked at their plan, is by buying offsets out of the state and even out of the country. And some of those offsets out of the state are by investing in biofuels like biomass and in biogas that we know that are just a false solution, and they just pollute more and they hurt other communities where they are sourced. As I mentioned, this plant is very energy intensive. This Huntington Beach plant would use the same amount of energy as 35,000 homes day in and day out. So when we all are called to conserve energy because we have a flex alert, this plant will have to keep operating. And as we know, with climate change, we're going to get just more of those flex alerts. This plant will also kill an immense amount of marine life. And we also know that many people go to the pier and go and fish around there for just their sustenance, especially now that people just cannot afford some of their food bills. So this basically will end that. And we just simply cannot afford that, not only for sustainability in terms of food, but just sustainability in terms of biodiversity. The other issue is that when you spend money promoting something that is just so terrible, that we cannot invest money in real solutions like recycling the water that we already have, reducing demand, and just basically investing in efficiency and conservation that just pay out immediately as you put in that money, not building something that takes 3 to 4 years to build and then sourcing that water that's going to be super expensive. And then rainwater capture and stormwater capture. And for those who have heard those terms, the main difference, rainwater capture is more at the household level, and stormwater capture is more at the city level, more wholesale. But again, those are the solutions that we should really be investing in if we really want local, not only local water, but also local jobs. We know that there's, of course, many jobs to be had if Poseidon gets built, but a lot of those jobs are not even local. About 40% of the jobs would not be local. So we need to be supporting something that is not going to be only good for jobs, but also for sustainability and for the pocketbooks of people who live in Southern California. It also takes away money from contaminations from PFAS, and this is something that is just coming more and more to the surface in terms of how it's contaminating our water sources. And we don't have money to do both. We cannot do Poseidon and what we have right now. And the reason why this is an environmental justice issue is that wealthy households can afford post-out water filters and all kinds of filtration devices. And low-income households, especially those who live in apartment buildings, won't be able to do that. So they will keep getting exposed to PFAS and other contaminants that we just can't clean up. Our leaders decide to fund Poseidon. We also have now the Carlsbad plan that Poseidon already built, and we know that water is going to keep getting more expensive. So when you build a plant like this, it's just similar to a car. It doesn't get more efficient, it gets less efficient with time. So with this chart, you can see that year over year, the water just keeps getting more expensive. So right now, the per acre foot in Carlsbad is about $2,800 per acre foot, which is about 3 to 4 times more expensive than the most expensive water that we get right now, which is imported water. Consumer Reports and The Guardian just came out with a report about 4 or 5 months ago, and one of the most expensive waters in the nation is San Diego, and that came right after they built this plant. So it's undeniable that desalination comes with a huge price tag, and it's just simply something that we just cannot afford, not right now. And there was another report with Voice of San Diego on how expensive this is and how this is also not climate resilient as Poseidon claims. So we had a red tide that lasted 2 weeks, and that resulted in a $50 million savings for that district. And if it hadn't been for that, they would not have been able to manage the budget. And I don't think we really need to be depending on something like a red tide or some fluke for a water district to be able to manage their budget. Also, I think it's also ridiculous that Poseidon has to hire 6 lobbying firms to get this through. I mean, who needs that much power to convince someone that this is a good idea? And in case you have been following the news in the last 3 to 4 weeks, Axiom Strategy, that's Birthday Boy from French Laundry. That's Newsom's BFF. And in the last 2 weeks, Axiom Advisors website has been down. So I think it's likely that they might just change their name or something and reemerge as something else. But Axiom also represents oil companies and Facebook and the lobby for doctors. I know that you were talking about just a few minutes ago about what do we do with our healthcare system. So they're the ones who really advocate for everything that is wrong with California right now. And they also advocated against rent control. So all that stuff is behind Axiom. And their second client was, second top client was Poseidon. The first client was Marathon Oil. So that's kind of what is at stake here. And again, this is another environmental justice issue because low-income people cannot even hire half a lobbyist. So who speaks for them? The other thing is with lobbying, they just know that it's just a good return on investment. So right now we have a $1.1 billion fund that can come from affordable housing to build this boondoggle in Huntington Beach. And they discovered that they can use that money because they already used some of that money to build Carlsbad in 2015. And they use about $700 million to build that. And it's a CPCFA bond that is usually used to build affordable housing. And when they realized they could use that, they did for Carlsbad, and they even got recognized by Wall Street for their innovative financing. So now we are going to have to put up a fight and ensure that that $1.1 billion really goes to build affordable housing and not a boondoggle that is going to go to privatize water. And of course, they want to build this whole thing with public money and use it for private profit. And Poseidon, just so you know, is Brookfield is a parent company of Poseidon, and Brookfield is a Canadian corporation. So none of the profits are actually going to stay not only in California, but not even in the US. So in conclusion, we just do not need Poseidon. We are going to get more water than we need because right now, especially in North Orange County, we have plenty of groundwater supply. It's the most expensive and risky option. There's a lot of oil wells for offshore drilling. We still don't know what that is going to mean for the plant, but we know that if there's an oil spill, the plant will have to shut down. If there's a red tide, the plant will have to shut down. Also, at the end of the term, the 50-year term, the plant will have to be turned over to the state, and we, the taxpayers, get to spend the money to decommission this plant. And we know there's several ways that we can meet our water needs that are way more affordable and just again, with the water that we already have. And more than anything, this goes against the human right to water. So we just need to get this Poseidon permit denied. We know that the governor is really pushing behind the screen to get whatever it takes to get this through. He just got someone off the Santa Ana Regional Water Board and reappointed someone who's very likely to vote yes. And we're trying to expose those shenanigans. So I hope that this was informative, and I'm open to questions. And I also see that Connor just joined. Connor is an advisor also to Food and Water Watch, and he's working on desal for a very long time. So if you have any questions for me or Connor, we're here. Thank you.
Well, what is the solution to the water problem? It seems to me that we need more water catchment systems when the rains do come. So that seems like the best use of public funds.